House Bill 475, an act relating to workforce development. Representative Thomas.
Gentleman from McCracken.
Mr. Speaker, I yield to the gentleman from Christian 8 for explanation of the bill and motion thereon.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Christian 8 for explanation of the bill and a motion thereon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I filed this bill, and obviously, as you can see by the board, that had got some attention. And so instead of me trying to refer it, because it's going to change as we adopt some of these things, I'd ask the clerk to call House Committee Sub to House Bill 475.
Clerk, please report.
House Committee Substitute 1 to House Bill 475.
Gentleman from Christian.
All right, and then I tell you what, if we could, I'm going to refer to the gentleman from Pendleton 78 for a friendly amendment.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Pendleton.
I need to ask for passage of the committee sub.
Motion is for the adoption of the committee sub. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. House Committee Substitute 1 is adopted.
All right.
Gentleman from Christian.
Moving on, I'm going to refer to the gentleman from Pendleton 78 for a friendly floor amendment.
Now the chair recognizes the friendly gentleman from Pendleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that the clerk report Floor Amendment 1 to House Bill 475.
Clerk, please report.
House Floor Amendment 1 to House Bill 475.
Gentleman from Pendleton.
Mr. Speaker, whereas the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970 does not apply to public employees, the Cabinet shall retain the authority to promulgate and enforce as necessary regulations pertaining to public employees. All this amendment does is keep in place the protections that public employees have under OSHA with the passage of this bill. So with that, if there's no questions, Mr. Speaker, I ask for adoption of Floor Amendment 1 to House Bill 475.
Motion is for the adoption of House Floor Amendment 1. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by voting aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. House Floor Amendment 1 is adopted. Gentleman from Christian.
Mr. Speaker, these bills get even better and better in the process. So at this time, I would like to refer to the friendly representative from Jefferson 46 for another friendly floor amendment. And considering that he took all the language out of my original bill and made it into his amendment, I'm going to let him speak on it.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Jefferson 46.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I just want to say this kind of all started last Wednesday evening. As you could tell, there was a shell bill out here, and a substitute went into it for morning meeting, and everybody that knows me knows how much I love them. Not. So I asked some questions in committee that concerned me about this piece of legislation. I was pretty strong with my comments. After the committee was over, the sponsor gentleman contacted me and asked me to be a part of the discussion, which I really appreciate. The gentleman from Christian is a good friend of mine. He's a good man. And so him and I and the Labor Cabinet Secretary got together and we discussed this bill. And what House Floor Amendment 2 does is it not only has the gentleman from Pendleton's concerns in there, but it also puts a date on this regulation so that the existing regulations are protected also. And that was very important to us. And although I don't like the fact that our Labor Cabinet does not have the ability to make more stringent standards when they're necessary in the future, this does protect what has already been done in the past. So I'd like to call House Floor Amendment 2.
Clerk, please report.
House Floor Amendment 2 to House Bill 475.
Gentleman from Jefferson.
Tell me what I need to say, gentlemen. Move for adoption on House
Motion is
Floor
for the
Amendment
adoption
2.
of House Floor Amendment 2. Is there any discussion? Gentleman from McGoffin, you wish to discuss the amendment or the bill? Motion's for the adoption of House Floor Amendment 2. Those in favor signify by voting aye. Those opposed, nay. House Floor Amendment 2 is adopted. Gentleman from Christian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know there was some concerns. Part of the regulations that we administer are for the KOSHA is the height on ladders. I know some have had some concerns. By the friendly gentleman from Jefferson 46, his amendment kind of addresses that and keeps those measures in place. So if there's no further questions, I move for adoption of House Bill 475 as amended by House Committee Sub 1, House Committee Floor Amendment 1, and House Floor Amendment 2.